guest asks why corporate boards aren't doing more to prevent their leaders from risking their health and terrifying their shareholders. Here to explain is John Stoll. He's the business columnist at the Wall Street Journal. And John, the deaths on Mount Everest got you thinking about this?
Yeah, I mean, a year ago, I talked to Greg Penner, who's the chairman of Walmart. He told me this story. I'm all about it. I would love to climb Everest too. My family might have an issue with it, but and then a year later, I started to think about it. Like, well, wait a minute, you did what? And just thinking about like how did the board of directors take this? Greg is not the CEO. To be fair, he's the chairman, and he even said to me yesterday on the phone, "Listen, you know, had I been the CEO of the company, it might have been a different story. First of all, it takes a lot of time." But also just the risk that we all take. But if you think about it in the athlete sense, we don't want our, the professional sports teams don't let their athletes do certain things that would harm them because they're such an investment. We should think the same way about senior executives at companies. You
want boards to coddle their CEOs, John. You want them to be nannies, to tell them, make sure their seatbelts are buckled and no, fun, risky adventures for you.
Right. No, I think it's a two-way street. Number one is you've got the risks, which I think a lot of boards need to think about this, is because the CEO oftentimes is a risk taker. They are an adrenaline junkie.
Exactly.
You don't want to bottle that up and take that spirit and that personality away. But at the same time, I would give you the example of Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Sheryl Sandberg. These are people who are mentioned in the 10K as risk factors. And if they are risk factors, then investors do have to have a bit of insight into what they're doing. Just an example, Sergio Marchionne, we talked about him last week. He was, until about a year before he died, I know this firsthand, he smoked a heck of a lot of cigarettes. And that is a risk to somebody's health who embodies a bit more of the company strategy, or probably has a bit more of the company strategy riding around in their head than the typical CEO. So not all CEOs operate that way.
What do you think should be required? That there's disclosure about some of these potentially harmful behaviors that CEOs are engaged in? Are you saying that there should be a discussion at the board level about whether those behaviors are appropriate?
I think investors should be thinking about this, and not just in the public sense. I talk to a lot of venture companies who are in a situation where the founder or the leader of the company is probably at a little bit more of an important intersection in the lifeblood of the company, meaning their existence is very important in those early years. And maybe if you're on a third, fourth, fifth, sixth generation CEO, I'm not saying that their life's not as important, but what their contribution to the company may be disproportionately lower. So in particular, if you're investing in a startup, to think about, we don't want our investor or our CEO living unhealthy lives, and we also probably may be thinking twice about the risk that they're taking, or at least have eyes wide open that this person jumps out of planes on their free time, or they drive boats at 90 miles an hour or a motorcycle.
Yeah, well.